Debbie Harper, and this is Harper Homestead. I did a video probably, like a year and a half ago, kind of introducing the channel and just beginning some of our videos here. And since then, you know, we've made a lot of changes. I used to do that, well, not always. I did my intro in January, and it was really hard because there was a lot of snow here, so we weren't able to go to a lot of places on the property. So I'm going to try to take you guys now before the snow comes. We are in September, and it's starting to get chilly. It's like warm during the day and then cold in the evening and in the early morning. But at least we can ride around and look at some of the property, and then maybe I'll answer a couple questions, because I did get a lot of questions, and we've had a lot of people from California, where we used to live, have come through since then, and I've had a lot of family move here since then. I've had really good family friends that have moved here, and we just kind of almost transported our little home in Yorba Linda, California, here to Montana in this small town, so, or this valley I should say. So let's look at some of the rest of the places, and then I'll tell you how we just got here, because we get that question a lot, and you know, why here, and you know, how did I always want to do this farm homestead, you know, small farm life? And the answer is no. But we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I had time to reflect on it, and we could just hopefully I'll just share with you, because my goal for this channel isn't to like reach 1 million people and become famous. It's mostly actually for my kids, or hopefully my kids, just to kind of, one, it's fun to see your family, you know, once they're gone or a lot older, how they were at their age and stuff that they did. We love looking at family videos, and I feel like nobody does that anymore. So I'm just trying to bring that back, and it's easier to store them on the YouTube channel. And then also, just hopefully I have a lot of nieces and my daughter that are really getting into, or actually not getting into, I feel like all these young kids are forced into, you know, taking a step back. A lot of their kids are getting sick. They have, you know, issues with different diseases. We have all these, you know, do I dare to say, vaccinations coming out, and I think it's just forcing them to really look at their food and look at their life, and maybe they can do something better, because what parent doesn't want to do the best that they can for their children? So let's do a quick look again and see how things change, what it looks like now that it's not winter time, and then we'll get to talking. Hi, lovebirds. Hi, Miss Turkey. So since last year, I don't think we had the run completed yet, but we finished the run. We redid it, made it bigger, longer, and we put a big roof on just by probably the first quarter, so that way in the winter time they can have some space. And then David also matched my garden to that run, and so now we're starting to work on the garden. We only had about half of it, the garden planted right now, not even half, maybe a quarter. We're hoping to finish that tunnel before winter comes and see if we can do a little bit more food over the winter, but for now that one tunnel is doing just fine, and we got a lot of food growing right now. We were a little late in the season because just the weather was weird, and we got a really cold frost all the way through mid-June, so that kind of stunted a lot of our plants. And this is Sally, So we have a lot of missing people right now. We went to the fair, we sold 1 sheep and 1 goat, so that's the surviving lamb over there. This is Faith with her 2 surprise babies. This is one of Mocha's, and we sold her brother. And then that's Susie's, and that's Susie's. So we got Brittany, and then Miss No Name. Yeah. So everybody loves Brittany. Our plan was basically to take everybody that's on this side of the fence, yeah, to the butcher. But Brittany was our bottle feed goat. She's a runt. She's totally stunted in her growth. She's basically has stopped growing. Even the babies that are about 4 months younger than her have passed her. So somebody wants her. We'll see. David's really ready to get rid of all of it. It's just a lot of mouths to feed, and that's not what we're trying to do, go in debt feeding animals. And then this is our little breeding herd. So we have Mocha. Mocha. We have Big Stud Bruce. He's our main billy goat. And then we have Susie back there. Last year, Susie had babies for the first time. She had 3. One didn't make it. And then one she rejected, which was Brittany, who we kept. And we bottle fed her. And then Miss No Name. And then Mocha had 2 beautiful babies. That was her first time as well. And one sold great at the fair. Another one we have here that we'll take to the butcher. So, I mean, we've really gotten into goat and lamb. Not everyone likes lamb. Lamb is good. I like lamb. It's not my favorite, but, you know, it's good. Goat, I would say it's a very... what's the word? It's delicious, but it's like the meat that nobody talks about, but is also the most famous in the entire world, but it's just not famous in the United States. So when we got into the meat market of goats, we figured we should try it before we were going to, you know, get into this market, and we loved it. Well, it took us forever. We couldn't find any goat. Nobody sold goat. So we ended up getting our own market goat, and then bred it and sold it at the fair. And with the extra one we butchered it and then tried it, and everybody loved it. Like all the kids, everybody really liked it. It really is kind of like a mild meat. It's really in between pork and beef, I would say, but it's delicious. And I personally love goats. I think they're so cute, and they're more like kind of like dogs, really. They all have a personality. You can train them really well. They're easy to catch. The lambs, I mean, it doesn't matter how long you have them. We only have 1 sheep that we can actually catch, Velo, and the rest are dogs. So we do have Velo and Mary still. They're just out on date night for the next 90 days, hopefully to get bred for next year. So here's the garden, and like I said, I have a lot of stuff growing in there, a lot of herbs, a lot of tomatoes still. All the winter squashes are going like gangbusters right now, so it's doing great. We had this accidental 6 geese. The geese are not our friends. They're beautiful, they're awesome to look at, they're obnoxious, and they're mean. So I think David's gonna, and maybe I'll butcher that or film that, because it's just gonna be me and David by ourselves, and he wants to have a butchering day for the geese. So anyways, so what we've done, I think last time I took you out here on the 5 acres, but this time we have a barn. So last year, about in September, we were actually sizing up and figuring out where we're going to put it, and now we have it. So this is Dad's fun place. We'll go in here real quick. They're giant doors. I think they're 16-foot doors, maybe 14 or 16, something like that. And then it's empty in here. I mean, there's stuff in here, but there's nothing built out in here. So, of course, the first thing David did was put up the boys' basketball hoops. So we always joke that we have made this giant expensive barn for the boys to have indoor basketball, but that's not really true. The goal is we still have this is not concreted because this whole section is going to be a meat cooler, butchering room, a bathroom, and wash area. And then we'll have doors that are going to go out, because on the other side of this is where we're going to put some animal stalls. So be able to go there and get that all figured out. So we still need to do the drains. That's why there's no concrete on that side yet. But we got electricity finally. We moved some of the weight equipment down here for the boys. And then I just ordered David a whole bunch of cabinets. So he's building the frames to where he's going to hang the cabinets. And he's running all the electrical, and he's figuring out where he wants all his outlets. And so it's going to take a while. We got to do the insulation and stuff. So, but his cabinets came. They're really nice. This one's a push out on rollers. He's got a lot of rollers, some on stands. And then some bigger tall ones that he's going to have big counter space for, and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's where he'll be probably for the next few years to get that done. But this is on our 5-acre property that we bought after we bought the house. We added on to our land, and it's nice and flat. It's got its own pond. You know, it has a well. It's already approved for septic. So that'll be the place. This piece of property will be the place that will mostly be putting the animals. So the animals won't be inside the barn. They will be outside the barn on the other side. And then we were going to do some roll-up things here for the cars, but it sounds like he kind of went away from that. But this is the 5 acres that I've taken you on before. It's just a pretty day. Our burn pile. You can see there's a pond over here. Flat. That's where the goal is, to get some fencing in, and then we are going to hopefully get some cows. So that'll be really awesome if we can get some cows, and not a lot. I'm saying like maybe 1 milk cow. And then I'm hoping that we'll get probably wants to just start with buying like a beef cow, and then raising it, butchering it, and not so much getting into breeding them ourselves just yet. So last time we couldn't go down the back part of the house. I just sat on the porch, but we have a back road that we can get down to the bottom part of the property, which is nice. Sits right on a creek. So all this, it goes, there's a creek that's way on the other side over there. This is another, I don't know, probably 5 acres on this side, but it has more of a terrain. There is some flat areas over there. It's just really overgrown. So that will be our future project to get that. We're hoping to put, you know, we could put pigs on this side, or even move some more goats over here to clear it out first. So down on this property, or on probably down here. There's a bigger flat area on this side that the kids usually do their dirt bike. They made a little dirt bike track over there because it's more flat. And then this is just really overgrown. But we come down here, we have a pump house that's here right by the creek, which I'll show you where the creek is easier on this side. But we go and our property pumps water from the creek into our pond by our house, not that other one that I showed you, but the pond where the geese were. And that's our landscape, how we water the grass and sprinkler system and everything. So that's the water that we use to water the plants. But down here on this side, if you go down that hill, this is a big flat area in here, and the creek comes through there as well, where we can also utilize that spot. And then you can see in September the creek is pretty low right now. But pretty soon we're in September, so we'll start raining really quickly here soon. And this creek is the border of our property. So I'll show you that flat area. See, the boys come through here. You can see that tree kind of came down, but they have jumps and other things all that weave through the trees. They have made a circle 8 and all sorts of stuff. So that keeps the neighbors happy that they're not doing it as close to the house, because we have one neighbor that's close to one side of our property. She's not a fan of kids at all, but we also don't want them tearing up our paddocks that we try to let the animals graze on. So you can kind of get an idea of how the property goes. And I think total it's just under 23 acres that we just fell in love with. We were just visiting some friends here, and we've been traveling for over 15 years before that, every summer, traveling all the states with our children, and had a few states in mind. We knew we wanted to move out of California, and a big part of that was just the taxes are very high there. The cost of living is very high there. As things got more political, I think the politics started playing into it a lot more. So it's just, it was all of that kind of was stirring. We just knew that, we were probably going to live somewhere else just because we've traveled, and we kept saying, gosh, why does the whole world live in this one small area? We're so packed in California, and there's so many beautiful places. I mean, all over the United States. There's tons of places. And so that's when, you know, we just started making our list and had a few places. We had Tennessee's gorgeous. Love Tennessee. It's really pretty. Texas is okay. I mean, but I liked Texas. Arkansas was really way up there. I loved Arkansas. It's very beautiful. But the biggest problem I had is I hate the heat. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I know you're not supposed to say hate, but I hate the heat. I hate sweating. I can't stand it. And just, we were constantly going there. David had, his dad at one time lived in northeast Oklahoma. And it was beautiful there. Nothing like I expected, because we've been through Oklahoma a few times, and it's kind of like this, like very mountainous, but hotter than heck. And so that was a big part of why we started migrating north, and loved Wyoming and probably the south end of Wyoming. But it was very expensive, and it's a really small area because most of Wyoming is the desert, high desert. Very flat and windy and cold, and even East Montana is the same way, is like that as well. But as we made it here, we had some good friends that moved here, and we're passing through and we're looking for a place. And I was really just looking for a piece of land because I had no desire to move yet. And then we found this property that was just a great price, that I could keep my other house. It was beautiful, you know. It's not right by an airport. It's still over 40 miles, but doable, and it's just beautiful here. So the winters, you know, are cold. They've gotten very, very cold over the years, and they fluctuate just like anything else. But you have to pick a place that works for you. If you can't stand the cold, or aren't willing to learn to do things, you have to be active in the cold in the winter. So we ski. My kids ski. I want to learn to cross country this year because my sister's wasn't a fan of skiing. I love skiing. David loves skiing, so I wasn't truly a fan. But my kids, as for school, for PE, they do skiing, and so David would chaperone. And I mean, I don't want to be left out, and I don't want to be a hubbub, so I would go with them, and the more you go, the better you get. Keeps you young. So I started skiing a lot more, and then, you know, snowshoeing. There's just, I mean, sledding. David and I sled a lot more than the kids do because we have all this hill, so we can sled just on our property. It's super fun. I don't know. You just got to do things that are fun. You can't just, they're different. It's different things that we do here than we did in California. And in California, I mostly worked anyways, and then we would vacation somewhere. But I wasn't a beach fan. I'm not going to go into my beach hiatus, because if you know me, I hate the beach, and I could tell you all sorts of gross things about the beach because I audited many beach towns. But so we weren't really big beach people anyway, so we didn't miss that. And a lot of times that we would go camping, we always went to the mountains, and we always did it in the summertime because the whole world is on the coast in the summer, and that's just miserable. So we would always go to the lakes and up into the mountains. So this just seemed more for us. And my biggest deal for moving, and David and I talked about it for a long time, is, you know, I just felt like it would be impossible for my children to live in California like we did at a reasonable pace. They would be working to death just to stay afloat. And I think that's a ridiculous way to live. And that was really our big motivation, was we were saying we would probably have to buy them a house. There's no way they can afford it. And I remember one time we were going, I've always followed my gut, and I feel like it's just the Lord talking to you. And one time this bigger home, but still right by our house, came into the market, and it was older, it was run down, it needed work, but I think it was over an acre, and it was like $950,000 or something back then. And I want to say that was like, I don't even remember. I don't even know if I had the little boys then. I think I just had Dev and Dawn. And we were going to push it to the max if we were going to move there. And it had a big area for animals. It had like a horse rink there and a barn. It just had more space. And we were like, oh, I just really wanted to do it. And I was making great money at the time. And I was a partner, and I was like, okay, let's just put our name in there. And we did. And then, of course, all the battling of prices started coming back. And I've always been really good about this. Like, you just give a price, and you got to know what your limits are. And if it's out of the price range, then maybe that's God helping you out. So it did. It fell through. And we talk about that all the time. Like, thank God we didn't buy that house. We would have had to sell that house in order to buy this. And then we would have never bought this. So it's just things like that. You kind of have to listen to your gut and see, where things lead. I mean, I've always been very ambitious. I don't mock any mom wanting to work. I worked. I regret a lot of the time I spent at work, but luckily for me, I felt like there's a specific moment, and I think a lot of people have it. You have this specific moment in your life that happens, and hopefully you're paying attention because God's telling you something. And so David and I were doing great. We only had 2 kids. We had a boy and a girl. Everyone kept saying, why do you even want more kids? You have the perfect family. You have a boy and a girl. I always wanted more kids, and David didn't. And his big part of why it's not that he didn't want more kids, it was stressful to him because I worked a lot, and my husband was a fireman, and he's gone a lot. So every day that he's home, he's with the kids, which isn't terrible. He didn't mind it, but it was just, I wasn't there. And so his big thing was, I will give you 1 million kids, but you need to be home. You can stay home. If you quit your job, I'll give you 1 million kids. And I really loved working. I think God made me good at numbers. I'm a good accountant. I did great in my career, but I was too focused on my career and not my family. And so I remember we were always having these conversations. And as the kids got easier, like 10 and 11, 8, 9, 10, 11, that's when he started reconsidering it. Like, yeah, they are growing up fast. We're still young. We were in our 30s. And maybe we should have a couple more kids. And I wanted to prove to him that I was dedicated. And so I went part-time. And so I was going part-time. And in the back of my head, I was struggling, as people start passing you and you're just like, I know I could be there. I know I could do that. And I kept trying to, see, can I be a partner part-time? And it was like everyone's poo-pooing everything all the time. Nobody has an imagination or appreciation for people that are good. And so I was just like, it's fine. And I actually ended up leaving that job, and I went to work for a government and hated it. I liked being independent in my job. As in the private industry, I was very independent. I can make my schedules. I can, work really hard at my own pace, and you can't really do that in the government job. It was a lot harder. So I ended up quitting and coming back to the firm, and I just said I'm going part-time. That's it. I just need to be more with my kids and my family. And so I was working part-time, and we were trying to have kids, and felt like forever, like a couple years or so, and kind of just settled. Like, it's okay that I'm not going to have any more kids. If God's not going to give me more kids, then God's not giving me more kids. That's just where I was at. In your mid-30s, it was very peaceful. I was very confident in who I was. I loved my family, and I thought I was okay with it. So then, even though I was like praying and praying and praying every day. And so we love hockey. We always used to go to Vegas to watch, I forget what it's called, Ice Fury or Fury, I don't know. It's the Kings always played, I think it was Colorado, and at the MGM. And so we would always go, just David and I. And so again, my sister was home. My sister was living with us at the time. We were going to go away for the weekend. And right before we went, I just had this feeling like, I don't want to go and party it up and might be pregnant. Since we've been trying, I'm just going to check one time. before we leave. And sure enough, I was pregnant. I found out 3 days before we left. So we were super excited. It was super fun. We're like, who cares? We're so excited. We want to go. And we did. We went to Vegas and hung out at the pool. And then we were getting ready to go to the game. And I specifically remember watching the debate. And it was, I know it was Hillary and Bush. No, Hillary? Yeah. And Bush. And I remember we were watching it and talking, and or Hillary, it must have been when Hillary was, I don't remember. Gosh. I swear it was Hillary. But anyways, and it wasn't Hillary and Trump. Or maybe she was just running as vice president, or maybe she was talking. I just remember watching her. And might have been Clinton, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, it was in 2008. It was the election of 2008. And we were sitting there, and I was watching it. I was doing my hair and stuff, and David was sitting on the bed. And well, it got too hot outside, so and then I looked at the clock, and I have to come get my son. So baby number 4. So I want to finish this story though, because I think this was a pivotal moment in my life that changed the way I saw everything. So sitting there, we were watching whatever debate it was, and all of a sudden I heard this big thud, and it was like David dropped his drink, and I turned around and I see that he's on the floor. And so I'm like, I started laughing because I thought maybe he, went to sit down to watch the debate, and he just, didn't fully get on the bed and kind of fell on the floor. And so I go over him, and no, he wasn't breathing. And so I'm yelling and I'm shaking him, and he's got foam in his mouth. His eyes are open. He's real stiff. And so I run to the hotel phone, and it's impossible to just dial out. You have to read all the directions. You hit a 0 and then a 1, and then I was just trying to get 911. And as I'm trying to figure it out and I'm dialing, I hear him say, "Debbie, what are you doing?" And okay. Well, my SD card got full, so I wasn't able to finish when I was in the car, which was probably a good thing. So I can get my mind clear and not get upset telling you this story. So anyways, I left by saying David was on the floor, and I was trying to call 911 out of the hotel phone. And then he sat up while I was trying to call, and he said, "Debbie, what are you doing?" And I just put the phone down and looked at him like, "Were you playing a joke on me?" Like, I thought he was playing a joke on me, like he was totally messing with me. And I was yelling, and I went and kicked him. Like, "I cannot believe you were playing a joke on me." Like, so upset, probably saying foul language, and because I was hysterical. And he's like, "What are you talking about? What happened?" So he didn't even know that he was unconscious. And so I just said, "Something's the matter with you. We need to go to the doctors. I need to call 911. At that time, David was a medic, a fireman paramedic, and he was like, "There's no way that he's letting me call 911. And when he's sitting up and he feels fine, he knows there's nothing they could do. And so we were in the pool all day, and we hadn't really eaten too much. I think we maybe had a salad because we were going to go to dinner and then go to the game. So we decided to go to the game and or go to dinner. And he was still acting a little funny. I don't know if he was nauseous or wet. He really didn't eat much. He said he was a little bit nauseous, but he felt fine. And then we went to the game. And when we were at the game, we watched the first period. And I think he got a pizza or something. And I was getting a text from my sister saying that Drew had a soccer game and he scored like 3 goals or had a great game. And so I was telling him, to text him back and tell him awesome or whatever. And so I gave him my phone, and I forget, I think I was looking at the game brochure or something, and then all of a sudden he fell on me and he was out again, not breathing. And so then I just started screaming for someone to call 911. We happened to be right at the last row of that first section, where people were walking, and one of the attendants was right there keeping people from going down to the lower levels. And he's like telling me to calm down, like it's okay. And so he radioed in, and they have medics downstairs actually at the stadium. And so they came right away, and he when he came awake, he didn't know that he went out again, and he was nauseous. And so they ended up taking us, and they took us downstairs. And then, of course, we're in Vegas, so they're asking us all these ridiculous questions like, were you guys doing any drugs? What were you doing? You have to tell us the truth, all this stuff. And, we weren't even drinking because I just found out I was pregnant. So they ended up taking him away. We went in an ambulance, and I called my mom right away, and just told her to start praying. They were having a big party at my mom's house, and told her what happened, and she just said she got everyone there. They went and kneeled down and just started praying, and the driver, heard me talking to my mom, and he's like, hey, he's gonna be fine, he's gonna be okay. And so when we got to the hospital, they ran a bunch of tests and said he was totally fine, that there was nothing the matter with him. They were going to send him home. And we drove to Vegas 4 hours, and at least 2 of those hours you're in the middle of nowhere. And I said, there's no way. I am not taking him back. That is the second time he did it, and I'm not taking him. I am not taking him out of this hospital. You need to figure it out. You need to run him on a stress test tomorrow, do something because he did it twice in a short period of time. There's no way. And so I had to fight a little bit, and they said, okay, we'll keep him overnight, and we'll run some tests tomorrow. So because it was late, so I said, okay. So they wouldn't let me stay there, so I said, good night, and he was in bed, and I went back just to check out of the hotel. It was wee hours in the morning, and my mom actually ended up calling her sister-in-law because they lived in Vegas, and they actually came to the hospital, which was very nice, to sit there with me, and they drove me back to the hotel. And so I ended up going back and just packing, and then I came back early in the morning, like 5:30 or 6 in the morning. I was going to his room, and he was awake, and so he said he heard me. He could tell it was me by my steps. He could hear me coming down the hallway. And so I told him that morning, I called his mom, and I said, I called your mom. He had no idea what he looked like or how it was working out. I did, and so I was terrified. And so I went to he went to push the button to lift himself up just to talk, and immediately he did it again, and he was out and just eyes open and not breathing, and it was the scariest thing. And luckily he was there at the hospital, because then all the alarms went off, and I'm yelling for the nurse, and she comes in, she sees him, she's yelling for him, he's not responding, and then all of a sudden he just snaps out of it, and they ended up pulling the records, and because the alarms went off because he literally was just flatlining, and they said he flatlined for about 32 seconds, and they didn't know why. So they were showing David that and what he was doing, and they said they were going to call a cardiologist and, discuss that and have him come see David. And so they left. And then right away, David says they're going to give me a pacemaker because whatever thing wasn't firing correctly. He knew all the terms they were saying. And he was, I think he was 31. It was 2009, or 34. He's born in 75, so he was 34. And or September of 2008. Drew was born in 2009. Yeah, so he was 34, and he had to get an emergency pacemaker. So that's what they ended up doing. People from his work drove in, from his station. My mom flew in, my mother-in-law, and my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law. They were all there. My sister was at home with my two kids, Dev and Dawn. They were 10 and 12. So, anyway, so I think that was a pivotal moment in both of our lives. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I appreciated David as much as I appreciate him now. And it's not that I didn't appreciate him. I just don't think we consciously focus on that, I guess. And when you almost lose someone, that's your main focus. And I was really focused on having I just wanted these kids. I've always wanted tons of babies, and I was always praying for that. And I remember when they took him in and I had to wait in the ER room, I was just on my knees praying, and if this is the only way I can have more kids, I don't want them. I couldn't do it without David, it's not as fulfilling. I wanted this to be us. And so I remember this lady came, and I just had tissues from the bathroom, and they were sopping wet, and my face was a mess, and I was on the phone either, I think, with my mom or somebody from work, and she just came over, and while I was on the phone, she took all my nasty tissues and gave me clean tissues and napkins and just put her hands over me and prayed. And I got her number, and I tried to call her, and it just goes to nothing. And I'm like, I never saw her again. I swear it was just an angel there. Because it just calmed down. I stopped crying right away. I could totally think and focus, and that was just a pivotal moment. That it was just like, he's my focus. Us were each other's focus, and nothing else matters. Nothing does. I mean, nothing but our little unit and our family, and it's like I didn't want to leave, all of a sudden I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to do these things. And I don't know, just everything just became more clear. Like, we made great money. We could do anything that we wanted. There was no stress, and I was still pretty not stingy, but practical. I saved every penny. We always lived on, this is my own theory. or my own way of doing things, and I share this with my kids all the time. We live our budget on one income, and my one income was always David's income. So anything that I made was always just extra that we put aside, extra that I had saved, and I worked for 22 years. So that's what I mean, that we had money that I just always had set aside because I chose to live off of one income all the time, just in case, in case at any moment one of us needed to stay home, there was no struggle. And so I think that was the pivotal moment that just changed the outlook on that. And that is why I think that's really the thing that everyone should be more focused on is just think of where you are, and at any time something can be taken away, and is whatever you're doing or whatever your focus is or whatever your goals are, is it all worth it if it's gone? And nothing was worth it anymore. And I still worked, and the funny thing is I still worked, but it was with a whole different mindset. And I never missed a game of any of my kids. I always got off on time, where before my husband was always calling me, it's 5 o'clock, it's 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, because I just took it for granted that he was home, but not thinking about him and how much time he wanted to spend with me and how much time I was losing being with him, because I was just thinking, well, I can get all this stuff done because it's so hard for me to get work done when I have to leave so early to pick up the kids, or I have to wait till I put the kids up, and then I finish my work till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's really what I was thinking about, instead of, no, David's home today, get home. So I think those kinds of things changed, and then just how we raised our last 2 kids totally changed. Our focus was totally different, and we continued to do our summer trips. And when we found this house, we were talking about, I just wanted space. I wanted quiet time. I wanted my kids to grow up in a place where they could afford, where we can all live and we could be close. And I knew in California they wouldn't be able to do that. And so when he always told me, we both wanted this big old long drive way to get back to your house. I didn't necessarily at the time wanted a bunch of trees. I thought it was kind of creepy, but he really wanted to be in the trees. And where we live, there's like a flat area in the valley, and then up in the hills in the mountain is where we are with all the trees. And so when we drove and just ran across this place that literally came on the market the weekend that we were here, I just ran across it while we were sitting at our friend's house. And so she's like, let's just go drive by, because it looked really cool. And so we went to try to drive by. Well, our house is like far in the back. It's not a road that is available to you to drive by. It's a one-way private road that's really far. So we kind of were like, okay, we can't go back there. They ended up calling their realtor, and she came the next day and was like, I'll show you the place. And we were like, this was not on our agenda to buy a house. And so she had 3 places that were pretty similar, and this was the first house we looked at. And then we looked at another one that was way more expensive that I didn't like. It had a little bit more property, and then I can't remember the third one. And it was everything that we wanted. And this house was pretty much set up very similar to my house in Yorba Linda, and except it had a basement, a built-out basement. And it had that big old long driveway, It's private all the way in the back, and David got all his trees, but when you get back here, it doesn't feel like spooky or anything. It's really open back here. And I was like, and we could, still keep our other house. I had all that money that I've been saving for years and years and years, and we could put an offer on the house, and we did that weekend. My husband's like, okay, yeah, thanks, thank you for showing us. We'll get back to you. And I was like, no, we're getting that first house. And I've always gone on my gut, things that worked out like I told you before. And so we put in the offer and it was accepted. And I was doing the paperwork on the trip all the way back home in the back of the motorhome. And it closed. That was in June. We were out here, and it closed in August. So then we just started coming out here once a month. We would come out, drive out, or fly out. And my older two kids were in college still. So we just had the two little boys who were in, I think they were in first and third grade, that we would come out here for that year, or second and third grade, and, or second and fourth grade. And then once we finished that year, because we kept coming out here, we were like, what are we doing? Like, you don't realize the chaos you're in until you get out of it. And then once you're out of it, you're just flabbergasted on how you live in that environment. And here it's like very slow and, quiet, and it's so peaceful. And so we've decided, well, you know what, then I'm just going to work from Montana. Let's leave California. And David was going to travel, and we did that. And so we moved in permanently in June 2019, and my kids started school, third grade and fifth grade. And that was all right before COVID. So talk about the good Lord letting him guide you and protect you, and you just got to listen. There's things out there, and you just got to figure out what it is. And then we just, like, the farm stuff actually came as an accident. I had no intention, no desire, or nothing when we were here, and I was working. The one thing we were thinking about having chickens. The kids thought that was cool, so David was building me a chicken coop for my birthday, and then we met some family that was here, and I think they lasted 6 months or so. They came in the beginning of the school year, and they left like in January, and they couldn't sell their chickens. So they just said, hey, we have to leave. We're not taking the chickens. Do you want them? I was like, okay. And David had to rapidly, like within 4 days, finish the coop so they could go in there, because I don't think it had a door or anything. And they knew we were building a coop. And so then I got my first 7 chickens, which my king rooster is one of them. And that's how we started with that. And then we just kind of got into, we wanted to check out some animals and maybe get a goat or something for food. We really wanted to start with pigs, and we couldn't get a breeder. But like I said, all the things work out. We ended up meeting this great goat and sheep breeders, and they got us started with that. And the kids got into 4-H, and then that's really where the little farm came. I mean, from the chickens, we got turkeys, because they were cute and I loved them, and then we got some ducks, and then we got some geese, and then the kids got goat and sheep, and I love every minute of it. I love everything that I do. And then I decided, after COVID, I think a lot of people had a little bigger light bulb go off, and I mean, we're doing great. We don't spend a lot of money. We don't need a lot of money. I'm the accountant. I did all the math on just what our costs actually were, and I told David, I think I'm ready to retire. I was supposed to retire at 50, and I ended up retiring at 48. And David was supposed to retire at 50, and he retired at 47, the little stinker. Once I said I was going to go, then he kindly was like, well, can I go too? And of course, I would never say no. So we got what I could never imagine. Probably the biggest blessing ever. And we spend 24/7 together. And I couldn't be happier. It's super fun. I love every minute. I love every second I get to spend with them. And with the boys. And now my boys are in 8th and 10th grade. And they love it. They love it here. It's very simple life. Very small school that they go to. And I don't know. It's probably the best decision I've ever made. So that's kind of how we got here. And now we just kind of focus on us, just praying a lot and working a lot. Well, thanks for listening and hanging out with me. Hopefully that helps to see how we got here. And I hope you guys all find your special place that we say now we just pray and work. And it's a great place to be. I hope you all find your special place to pray and work. See you later.